This week on Influence, sometimes the best form of protest is erotic paranormal monster fiction? ? Greetings, internet travelers. Welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman. My name's in the title of the show. That's how you know it's me. Thanks for hanging out with me another week. And I hope that you are staying safe out there in the world and resisting fascism wherever you can find it. And today we are going to be covering that in, a weird way, a weird roundabout way. There is something that has happened very recently. I don't know when this is going to publish, but we are recording this on February the 3rd, 2026. And there has been something percolating on Reddit, one of the only social media sites that I still use on the regular. And by regular, I mean every 15 minutes. And I was not aware of this because it was not necessarily in like the major subs, but something has been bubbling up, and I'm here to tell you it has been 8 years in the making. And it was brought to my attention through some coverage over at 404 Media, which is an excellent, I believe they're a nonprofit journalism site, reporting mostly on internet and technology and social media type news. One of the last bastions of like, hey, we put text on a page and we do real reporting. And so this was an article about a book on Kindle that is, as I said at the top, supernatural, paranormal, erotic fiction about none other than our favorite First Lady, Melania Trump. Except that she, she's not doing her normal First Lady duties. She's a devourer of men. She, likes to get frisky, and then she likes to get down, and then she likes to, murder, suck blood. We're going to find out in a minute. And that, weird self-published fiction on Amazon, not that interesting. Weird self-published fiction on Amazon that has rocketed to the top of the Amazon Kindle charts, has rocketed past Melania's own whatever the fuck documentary that just came out that was supposed to be some fucking big deal, and everyone in the world is like, fuck this, who cares about this? It's in the theater. They released a documentary about the First Lady in the movie theater, and not only does nobody care, but everyone's actively saying fuck that. This book is doing better than that documentary that Amazon itself has put some stupid amount of money in. So we're going to talk about what this weird form of protest is, what the internet has found out about it, and why they have brought it to the front of a Google search, let's say, or an Amazon search about Melania Trump. And I am thrilled to bring not just the community, not just the internet people, no. The author of Melania, Devourer of Men, on the podcast. It's J.D. Boehninger. Hello, welcome to Influence.
Hello. Oh, wow. Oh, thank you. Oh,
studio audience is going crazy.
So
They're
kind.
fans.
Oh, my
They're
goodness.
fans. Huge fans.
I didn't even know they were here, but I am so excited.
They keep a very low profile until you appeared. Before we get into this, two points of order. One, if you are watching the video version of this, JD has been obfuscated. I am blurring his face in some way to protect his anonymity. This is a pen name that he is using. And number two, I have scored the exclusive podcast interview with JD because we happen to, coincidentally, know each other personally, and I'm thrilled to call him a friend.
Well, thank you. I share that with you. And I also like to think that even if that weren't the case, I can't think of a podcast that I would want to be on more and talk about this than this one. This is
he's
sort
just
of like,
kissing ass.
No,
He's
this is. I've been
ass.
listening to this podcast I've been listening to this podcast since it was called Two Girls One Podcast with Jen. With
yes, the original co-host.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
And so I'm very excited to be here.
For audio listeners, you are also, hearing some sort of modified version of JD's voice because, again, we are protecting his anonymity as the pen, the nom de plume of this book, which like I said, was written 8 years ago. So why don't you introduce yourself to listeners and lay the groundwork for why are you writing erotic fiction about public political figures here?
This is a great question. I often wonder the same thing. I am JD Boehninger. It is my pen name. And I am the author of a book called Melania, Devourer of Men, which I wrote 8 years ago. And this came to be because 8 years ago, in the first Trump administration, I like everybody was wondering, well, what do we do now? Trump is president. He's wrecking everything around us. It's a very familiar moment to right now. And I was like, well, what do I do? And I went out with a friend of mine and I said, well, how are you coping with all of this? And my friend had a very surprising answer. My friend said, I'm writing young adult fiction for the Kindle. And I was like, okay. I was like, tell me more. And my friend was writing, this is like young adult, like monster fiction, like people fighting monsters. It was cool stuff.
But in a serious way, like this was a passion of theirs to write. This was not parody or political protest. It was like, hey, check out my monster book.
Yeah, because and in part because my friend's a wonderful writer, and also because, as my friend told me, the Kindle is an entire ecosystem, and there are people who are making very good livings writing things for Kindle. Some of it is funny, parody, absurdist stuff. Chuck Tingle is a real. I think you've spoken to Chuck.
We've interviewed Chuck Tingle here. Yeah.
Like Chuck Tingle is really a master at it, but there are people who are writing books that are maybe not the Great American Novel, but stuff that's thrilling, good reads, and they're
because I view self-publishing on Amazon as nobody's actually buying any of this, but you're saying that that people are making livings from this. Yeah,
that's my understanding, and it is an ecosystem unto itself. So people figure out, they'll give a book away for free. That's the start of a series, and then ask you to buy the rest of them.
That's super smart.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things there. And so my friend sort of turned me on to that, and I said, I didn't know anything about this at the time. So I said, well, tell me more. How does this Kindle ecosystem? What makes it work? What's successful? And my friend said, this is 8 years ago. And he said, well, there are 3 things that really work in the Kindle store. And the first is monster fiction. People love monster fiction. The second is erotica, because people, I guess, like erotica. And on a Kindle, people don't know what you're reading because there's no cover. So you can read it on the train.
You can read it on the train, and it's not a physical book that's in your house, so no one's going to discover it. Exactly. And publishers probably don't want to publish it. I'm speaking out of turn, but I'm sure Penguin Random House is probably not publishing a lot of erotica. And this is the story of the internet. It's nobody wants to do this, but here's OnlyFans or here's whatever YouTube.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the third thing, it was monster fiction, it was erotica, and at the time it was stuff about Trump, because Trump had such an insane hold on our collective consciousness in 2018, and everything, and even today it's still bad, of course, but back then it was really waking up and be like, well, what has he done now?
Right.
And so I thought, okay. And my friend said, if you want your book to do well, it has to be one of those 3 things: monster fiction, erotica, or Trump. And I said, well, I don't want my book to do well. I want my book to be spectacular. And so I wrote a monster fiction erotica Trump book. And I wasn't going to write it about Donald Trump because I just couldn't bring myself to write an erotic scene about him.
We've got plenty of those in the Epstein files, so we're good there. Sorry.
And so I just thought, well, it has to be about Melania. That's who it has to be. And so that's the book I wrote. And so I wrote it.
There is just something about going around the side to jab at the first lady rather than the president himself. There's an angle there.
I hoped so. I thought so, and I just didn't. I mean, there's enough. There's so much about Trump. How much of our mental share should we give to him? I liked the idea. He doesn't even appear in the book until very, very deep in the book, in the last chapter. And I know I heard some reviewers years ago did a podcast, and they were like, why is he not in this book?
And it's like people were reviewing the book on podcast. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into that shortly.
And I'm glad they reviewed it, and they were mystified as to this about this choice. But I really think it's the right choice. It's just let's not even make him a character,
because they're talking about the choice on a podcast, which means it's the right choice.
I hope so.
Okay, so you're learning about this ecosystem. You publish it only as a Kindle book.
Yeah.
There's never. Yeah. Oh, there is a physical version, but not at this time.
There is. You can buy it as a paperback book, and that's been from the beginning too.
Okay.
And I am always happy when people buy it as a paperback, because I always say that even if you don't want to read this book, you could. It's a great coffee table book.
It has great cover art.
It does. The cover's fantastic. I had a wonderful artist who made a perfect cover.
I will show the cover art in the thumbnail of the video and in the thumbnail for the podcast, and hopefully here on the video version too. You do have to take a look at this.
And it's a great conversation starter.
Yes.
So yeah. So I always say, even if you don't want to read it, you should get the paperback.
All right. So what is the story of the book? I'm a bad host. I'm going to confess. I own the book. I have not read the book.
I don't expect a lot of people to read this book.
And this is very interesting to me, because it's like, we're supporting the book and buying the book to kind of make a statement. But the book, you really wrote this. You sat down to write a real story that really has a meaningful plot and lots of sexy time in it, I presume.
A little bit. It's in there. It's weird, right? I think a lot of people who are buying the book right now are doing it expecting pot shots and late night TV jokes about Melania.
Right. Okay.
And I decided when I started writing the book 8 years ago that I wasn't gonna do that, because a lot of the jokes that people make, a lot of those late night jokes about Trump and Melania, I sometimes worry they're not that helpful. When people are like, "Oh, Trump is fat," or Melania has an accent, or maybe she's not smart. I'm those aren't really that's not personally my issue with them. I don't care. If Trump were thin, he wouldn't be better, right? That's not.
But also, I know literally nothing about Melania Trump.
Yeah.
And I presume I am not alone. I assume most Americans are I don't know. I don't know where she's from. I don't know what she did for a living. Was she a model or something? I have no fucking clue. I don't think I've ever heard her speak. So she's a non-entity in a world where Laura Bush and Michelle Obama were first ladies that did things. I have no idea what Melania Trump does.
It's weird. The whole first year of the Trump presidency, the first one, she lived in New York. She didn't even come to.
She didn't live in DC.
Yeah, she didn't live in DC. She would stay in New York, and that raised people were really confused by that. That's actually when this book is set, is during that period. And then I think right now, I'm not sure. I don't think she lives in DC now. I think she still lives in New York this time around. I'm not sure.
Okay.
She is, as far as I understand, she is mysterious as far as first ladies go, right? She's not out there doing. Every now and then she surfaces for a weird Christmas thing, but she is not really present in the way I think a lot of first ladies.
Which is why her mysterious life is perfect for is she secretly a weird vampire or something? What's going on?
Do you know who has taken that angle with her? The Onion. Every story The Onion runs about Melania is Melania Trump spotted on the ceiling shrieking like a bat or something and it's and I'm glad they did, but it's like, guys, I got there. Like,
I was going to say, are they
got
cribbing
there.
from you?
I think,
All right, so
I think we're both just identifying that she has this weird, like, mysterious kind of paranormal energy.
So okay. How long does it take to write a book? How many pages are we talking? Which is a bad measure of like effort, of course. But
you want to hear something really embarrassing?
Yeah.
So the book I think is about 30,000 words, and when I wrote it in 2018, like I never written a book before, and I didn't want to write like a pot shot book, right? Like I wanted to write something that actually had like a story and an arc and stuff to it. So it actually took me like a long time to write. It actually, and I had a full-time job, right? And so I wasn't like doing this all day long. So like, but like it took me a few months to write this book. And then years later I wrote a sequel, and the sequel I wrote much faster. The sequel I wrote in like a month and a half.
We'll talk about that shortly. But all right, so you write it, and then what's the publishing process? You just submit to Amazon, and then it's there.
I put it on Amazon in 2018, and I sent out a letter to my friends, and I was like, guys, like, and I explained what I was trying to do. I was like, I've written a book that is like tailor-made for the Kindle ecosystem, and like this thing is designed to pop. And I was like, what we really need is like maybe just a few reviews, 5-star reviews. Apparently, you're not supposed to do this. I didn't know this, but But I was like, if you guys could all just like buy the book for $1 and leave a 5-star review, like we could like get this thing trended.
Because you have to make the purchase to be allowed to write a review, which is to protect from astroturfing and bots and whatever, right?
Which makes sense. And so I was very touched that back then I had some friends, about a dozen friends who did buy the book and leave a 5-star review. The reviews were really funny. It was really good. But it did not have the effect that I wanted. Like nothing happened. The book did not pop. And it just sort of withered on the vine.
And before we continue, just clarifying, like, were there any like content checks or like moderation? Can I just publish what if I published a biography of Trump that was like, he's a vampire and I can confirm, and I could just publish that?
I think so. If I remember, like there's some check boxes in the publishing process, if I remember, because they want to make sure that like you own the rights to this. Like you can't write like a Disney, Disney characters or something. Yes. But my book is satirical, right? I'm in no way presenting this as factual.
No. I was just curious, like, do they even care what's on the platform? And that's an interesting moderation question.
I mean, we saw a lot of that during COVID, right? That question about like you can publish a lot
exactly.
of things. Maybe shouldn't be allowed to.
Vaccine misinformation, but it's a book, so it's real. That whole shit. Okay.
Yeah. So like, but no, they I don't, and like I don't. There's probably not really a downside for them. They get a share of every dollar, right? And so. So I think they were, I don't know about happy to have it, but I think they were probably very neutral.
Yeah, I guess I'm only thinking about it from a lawsuit point of view. Of like, you let this go on your platform and people bought it. And you profited from bad information, which I'm sure happens, but maybe,
sure. But in this case,
nobody gives a shit about this.
And in this case, this is a purely fictional thing. There's about public figures. I think legally, I don't think there's any real issues for anyone here.
Walk us through the plot of the book and then what happens next.
Yes. So this novel is about Melania Trump, and it's set during that first year when Donald is president and she's in New York. And this presidency has thrown her whole life into chaos because she used to like being a very private person and just going to parties and just not really having much to do and no responsibilities. And now she's got eyes on her. And that's distressing, because she just doesn't like that, but also because she is secretly a creature from Filipino folklore called a manananggal. And a manananggal is it's sort of like a vampire.
I'm glad you pronounced it because I didn't know.
It's sort of like a vampire, but the difference is that when a manananggal, by day they look like women, and at night they sprout these bat wings, and their torso separates from their legs, and they fly off into the night, and they feed on like babies, and they kill. It's pretty dark. It's pretty dark. So in this book, she's like trying to preserve her privacy and trying to like keep her secret that she's a mana nunga, but also like the stress of this situation makes her like feed more, and so she's like getting sloppy.
Where's the have you been approached for movie rights yet?
Not yet. I am, but if anyone wants to, I would love to.
You heard it. You heard it here.
I'd be happy.
Come on, Netflix or who would make this?
Netflix should absolutely do. I guess Amazon probably won't.
I mean, truly, I didn't understand the ramifications of this documentary until reading the 404 piece, because look, I talk about this here a little bit, but with friends and my wife too, of like, I want to be an informed citizen, and also I fucking can't look at it anymore. I got to just stop looking at what's going on for a little bit before I come back. So I don't know anything about the doc.
It's one of the things I try. Likewise, I try to like read voraciously and be up to date on just everything. I've had to do it professionally, and it's my personal interest. But in January, I did something that I often do, which is I take a 1 month break from social media. And I just get off all social.
Dry January.
Dry January, and it's wonderful, like mentally, but it does leave me hurting for like I listen to NPR in the morning, and that's basically all I know about what's going on.
Right, which I miss doing. Look, I love NPR. I support we support NPR financially, etc. But I just can't. I don't want to turn it on.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear what is happening. Anyway, that's topics for other time.
But all this to say, the documentary is, I remember reading about it last year when they made this deal to give Melania Trump $40 million for a documentary, which my understanding is that's kind of an outrageous amount of money for a project like this. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this is Amazon Studios?
This is Amazon, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Or maybe
not... I don't know if it's not MGM necessarily, which they acquired, but
I haven't read MGM's name in regards to this. I keep hearing it as Amazon. Yeah.
But again,
but they do
an insane amount of money to make a documentary about a person who doesn't seem to do much. And then it's like, and then what is the goal here? To make this money back because so many people are going to care about the documentary, or something else?
404 described the film as a documentary / bribe, and I really liked that framing. I think they're probably right about that.
So fucked. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we have the premise of the book. The cover is spectacular. The plot is spectacular. And you publish, and a few friends leave some reviews, and then nothing happens. Is that accurate?
That's about right. Every now and then it pops up. There was a podcast a couple of years ago about Filipino folklore, and they were very excited to see that there's a book about mananangals, and so they did an episode about it, but mostly the book hasn't gotten a lot of attention in these 8 years.
Okay. So what are you doing in between? Are you just living life?
I hope so. I hope I'm sitting around waiting for this book to pop.
Just checking your email every morning, being like, well, that's not today. All right, back to bed. All right, so what happened recently on Reddit? This is a specific subreddit where things start to pop up.
So a few weeks ago, I made the decision to make the book free. And that was in concert with a Redditor who had this plan to make this book sort of a protest by against both Melania Trump and this documentary and Amazon for giving her this thing. And the idea was, if you make the book free, then we can rally people to make this the #1 book for Melania Trump, and it'll be sort of a thumb in the eye to both her and to Amazon. And I said that I like that plan a lot. And so these I can tell you actually, I don't think anybody knows this. Before
wait, is this an exclusive? Suck it, 404.
This actually,
no, we love you, 404.
We do love 404.
Keep doing things.
They're fantastic. Before it started on Reddit, it started on Lemmy, which is like, the the decentralized Reddit. It's like the Mastodon of Reddit.
Yes. If Reddit was hosted on lots of different servers instead of reddit.com servers, that is Lemmy, which is decentralized. And like I say here in life, decentralized is not a dirty word.
No.
Only when it's a crypto casino do we have issues. But decentralized internet is how the internet used to be, and it's a good thing.
That's right. And so it started on Lemmy, and I saw those posts, and those posts like they're people responded to them, but I don't think it didn't reach critical mass until it moved on to Reddit. And I think I think the Reddit where it really hit a nerve was one called Boycott United States.
r/boycott United States. I've not been there. This sounds like a place I would like to hang out here and there. But like, is this about the general strike? Is this about, hey, if you're in other countries, don't come here? What is the thesis here?
When I was looking at other posts on that subreddit, it looks largely Canadian, I think. And when tariffs, when the U.S. hit Canada with tariffs, it really spurred this sort of movement to say, hey, we're not going to buy anything from the U.S. I don't know if this is big on that Reddit. I know that in Canada there was a big movement to like stop drinking alcohol from America, stop drinking our beer, stop drinking. I'm in the U.S. Stop drinking our beer, stop drinking this stuff. And so I don't know if that exploded on that Reddit, but I think like that Reddit was like a big organizing spot for a lot of Canadian, for a lot of like Canadian boycotts of the U.S.
Yeah.
And so there was a post in there that said, hey, let's make this the number one result for Melania Trump. And from there, it really took off. And then I started seeing posts spring up in places like Not the Onion, or Not the Onion became
which this is really happening. This is not the Onion making up an absurd story. Yeah.
As an Onion fan, I really appreciate that. That's where that was landing.
Not the Onion is fantastic. Okay, wait. So just so I understand and clarifying for listeners, if as they follow along here, the book is now free, which enables lots of people to acquire it and then leave reviews, which then contributes to like the concept of Melania Trump being like putting more heat on her name in like bestseller lists on Amazon, so that when people search for things around her, this is coming up instead of the doc or instead of other books. Is that the goal here?
That's exactly right. And now today, if you search for Melania Trump, or if you search just for Melania on Amazon, this is the first result. Unless maybe sometimes there's a sponsored result. It depends. I see it on like different devices and different stuff, but it is in the top result for Melania Trump, and for 4 days now, it is the number one free book on Amazon.
Wow! Hey!
Oh, thank you.
You don't. This is a funky question. You don't have to like disclose like sales figures or whatever, which is like that's free, but it's but the point is like how many how many Amazon accounts need to own a book for it to be the number one free book? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what are we talking here?
I can say that we got to the number one spot with I'll say less than 50,000. And that number that was a couple days ago. That number has kept going up, and it's been very cool to see that. I know it's kind of nice to be reminded that it doesn't take these systems, these algorithmic systems that we often feel sort of like on the receiving end of. It's cool that like with a coordinated action that is not that large. I'm very happy that it's as many people as it is.
It's large. It's large, but not like millions and millions large.
Look what just a small-ish group of people. It didn't take 1 million people. It didn't take 100,000 people, and we were able to do something that I think at least has. I like to imagine now. There's probably like a panicked meeting somewhere in Amazon. They're sitting around a board table and they've got a Melania Bat Monster book cover up on TV.
Yes, yes, that on the corporate side and even on the like the handlers of Melania or the administration or PR, like that there are people in these rooms who are like, oh man, can we fucking get this? How do we get this book off the list here? Which then I will just remind listeners, please go claim your free book, your free copy of, and leave a review. We will link to it in the show notes, of course. But my question, okay, wait, not really a question. I know you will know this and remember this. This feels so much like when people on the web, communities on the web, on the broader web, were like, hey, this politician sucks or this celebrity sucks. If we all link to a photo of a potato and in the metadata we put the guy's name, then when anyone Googles this dude's name, the first thing they see is going to be a potato, because all the links are sending the SEO juice to this one image. And that is that coordinated, like, how can we fight this algorithm to show what we want instead of what Google wants? This feels similar to that.
I mean, those actions, I think about the one Rick Santorum, right? That was probably...
Is that what it was?
Maybe 20 years ago now?
This was decades ago, yeah.
But I think about those actions, and I love those, right? I love that this is the internet sort of doing what it does best. And it's sort of this uncoordinated, but we all have the same goal, and we all come together. And I don't ever want to think that, like this is not like activism. Like I as much as I would like to think that this cannot be the end action that we take. But as just a nice, we're on our phones anyway. At least we're doing something here that helps push back a little bit.
And the reason this feels good to me, A, it's funny. B, every day you wake up and feel powerless.
Yeah.
And even if you're able to go to a protest, that also feels dangerous and risky. And it's very cold in many parts in the world, certainly in Minneapolis. And we salute you if you are out there in the street doing that.
They're showing us how it's done right now.
Showing us how it's done. But if you can just do something, because posting on social media feels like you're screaming into the void. The 7 people who follow you, they already agree with you, and they'll like your post, and then who fucking cares? And that also feels like an exercise in powerlessness, even though you should still do it, maybe. This feels good because you actually changed what the website Amazon.com will show to the public when they look at this.
Yeah.
And that feels good.
I am impressed and pleasantly surprised that Amazon, as far as I can see, hasn't taken any action against the book right now. And I don't know if they know that doing so would bring more attention to this.
Yes, maybe that's Streisand affecting for sure. And also, if things were removed or delisted or hidden in some way, like, is there a lawsuit that you could bring that could ruffle feathers around that? I don't know.
I can't get into that. I don't want to speculate on something that hasn't happened, right?
No, but I just mean, like, would they leave this alone for fear of that happening? We can only speculate.
One thing that I can definitely bet on is if they did that, it would really hurt their relationship with authors. To say, hey, you can have the number one book and you can have this thing and you're following all the rules, right? I'm not breaking any rules. And so if they remove it,
we don't like it.
Yeah. So I hope they don't interfere with this. I hope they leave it alone.
Before we started chatting, you also alluded to something before we started recording, rather, that lots and lots of people now own the book digitally, and lots of people are now leaving reviews, which then adds to the heat on it, right? 2,000 new reviews this week alone. That's people that's people taking the time to do it. But you are suspecting that some of these reviews, many of these reviews are AI generated. And what do you make of that? What are you seeing?
I did see that. That's just my guess. Looking at these things, that a lot of them feel like they're written by AI, and I think people are probably coming at this from I think like the right angle. I think they're doing this with good intentions. That they want this book to have lots of 5-star reviews, which I appreciate, and they want it to have lots of glowing reviews, which I also appreciate. And so I think probably for a lot of people, the fastest way to do that is to say, "Hey, AI, write a 5-star review for this book."
Yeah.
And so I it's fine. I will say that the reviews that I've seen that I don't think are written by AI, that I think are written by people who have read the book, those reviews.
That's what I want to read. Yeah.
It's really touching, first of all, that anybody would read this. That's very moving to me. And then that they would take the time to write a review and say things. And some of the reviews I've seen where people say, this book is not what I expected, right? They expected the pot shots. And they went in and they said, it's actually like very, like, it's not good, but it's not like... And I see that and I go, I think they got it.
Yeah. There's always with anything on the internet, there's always the people who are like, yeah, they got it. And then there's other people who are like, what is this? Why are we here? Yeah.
I saw a review yesterday that somebody said, I hope this author is writing things that aren't this book, because they could write something good. And I was happy about that. And to that review, I say, I am. So that's good.
Yeah, well, publishers, whatever, this is the real deal here. So when hopefully they come knocking for like the real thing in the future. It's very early. This, by the time you're listening to this, the stats might be wildly higher in terms of visibility on this thing.
It has been funny to watch these numbers go up. There are strong days and there have been some softer days since, but the numbers just keep going up. The reviews keep going up. People are buying the paperback. People are buying the other book, the sequel to this.
Well, let's talk about that. You wrote a sequel much more recently.
Yes.
So explain what that is, and then if you can, there was fervor around this as well in with some influencer communities. So tell me what you can say about that sort of stuff.
Sure. So the night after Trump won for the second time.
Yes.
I was once again very depressed, and I went out with a friend of mine, and it just so happened to be that same friend who had inspired me to write the Melania book all those years ago, the one who writes for Kindle. And my friend said, hey, now that Trump has won again, you have to write a sequel. And I said, I really don't want to, because the first book didn't really perform, and because I'm very sad about all sorts of things right now. And my friend said, yeah, but everyone is sad. And if you can create a book that sort of is a rallying point for dissent, then people might buy it, and you might feel better, and you might make other people feel better. And I thought, okay, that sounds good. So I sat down and I started to write a book, and I didn't want to do another one about Melania, but I wanted to keep this monster theme going, and so I wrote a book about J.D. Vance's wife, Usha Vance. And in the book, she is transforming herself into a couch so that she can win back her husband, who has become distracted. And the book is called Forbidden Love Seat.
Which I also own and have reviewed on Amazon.
Thank you. And so that one similarly, I launched it right before the inauguration, because there was a lot of energy that time to be like, let's push back here.
Right.
And I wrote it very quickly so I could get it out in time for that, and I got it out in time for the inauguration. And just like Melania, it didn't really sell. Nothing really happened. But then a few months later, there was this post on Reddit that from somebody who claimed to work at Amazon Web Services, and they claimed, I think they claimed it, or maybe they implied, but this post claimed that Trump had come to the Amazon Web Services team and said, hey, we're going to cancel all the government contracts that the government has with AWS, because I think they do through like the NSA and the CIA.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And they said, we're going to cancel those contracts unless you pull down a list of books that are critical of Trump. And it was mostly nonfiction books by influencers.
Okay.
But two of the books on this list were the Melania book and Forbidden Love Seat.
Is this real? Did this really happen, or do we?
I never saw any confirmation that this was real. I don't know if I even saw articles about this. The only place I saw it picked up was one of the influencers whose book was on that.
Okay.
He did a video about this post and the claims in this post. And I think because he did this video and he has a very big reach, off of that, I ended up selling a few books.
Okay. Because he was like, hey, my book is banned and all these other books are banned. What the fuck is this? Potentially, or could have been banned. Because they were never pulled off. Actually,
no, not my.
Okay, so this was just somebody who may or may not have been legit, being like, look at this, and then this YouTuber was like, oh my god, and then that brought attention to your thing.
And so people, I think, like as an act of protest then too, I think people bought all the books on the list, including Melania and Forbidden Love Seat. And so until this happened this week with this protest, that was like the most action I'd ever seen on these books.
But we're fully through the looking glass, which we all know, but it's like, I don't want people to just say shit online and for then that to have ramifications for the real world. Like that's not necessarily a good thing. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, as we discuss forms of protest and bring awareness to satire, well, it is kind of cool to see some of this transpire. And now I don't know what's real and what we should be rooting for here.
I keep thinking that like 20 years ago, the book that I would have, the way that I would have wanted to get a number one book on Amazon would have been like writing a real book about philosophy or about the human condition. But we did not get a world 20 years later that cares about philosophy and the human condition. We got an absurd world. And if that's the world we got, then I'm kind of glad that my absurd book is what did it.
And the internet used to be absurd. And it still is.
It still is, but it's true. It used to be like primarily absurd instead of like primarily depressing.
Correct. Yes, because now the internet is just look at this. Look at how bad this is. Look at how crazy this is. Can you believe this? Instead of everyone just like wondering what color this dress is. You know what I mean?
It does feel like the curiosity. Look at us, a couple old men here. But like, it does feel like the curiosity of the early internet and like the thrill of like what happens when we can connect people in these unexpected ways. It feels like that has given way to just sort of like naked commercialism and like the idea that your only interest here should be to make money, get your bag, and get out. And like I'm actually also sort of happy that like this is probably the most successful thing I've done, and it's free, right? I'm not making a little bit of money when people are buying the other ones, but like by and large, like all people are putting their effort into buying the free book. Which doesn't financially benefit me, but it does help us collectively like push back on Amazon and the Trumps. I like that a lot.
Great. Congratulations on that. I mean, we'll probably leave it here, but like, what's next? Like I'm talking to a person that I know, so I know about your life, but I don't know what's next for JD Boehninger as a pen name. Like, what are you going to do with this now that it's happening, and you may not know yet, I presume.
I mean, I could write, there's two books already. There might be room for a third. And I could sell that on Barnes and Noble or somewhere else and make money there, so I'm not benefiting Amazon, right? That's a possibility. And I also, for my outside of this, I have a life where I thankfully get to write things that are a little less absurd and a little closer to the sort of things I would have wanted to write when I was before Trump. And so I'm very happy with that. But no, I'm really, you know what? If this is all that ever happens, then I'll be happy, right? With J.D. Boehninger, then I'll be happy that what J.D. Boehninger accomplished is we showed Amazon and we showed Trump. They spent between the bribe and the alleged bribe and the marketing, they spent $75 million on that movie.
Crazy.
And I spent $30 on the keyboard. And look what we've accomplished.
Think of how many schools and soup kitchens we could have built with $75 million. I know what I wanted to conclude with, which is partially it's a question, it's an observation, but I am thinking a lot about how do we keep everything you've been talking about? How do we keep making art? How do we keep being creative in a world that sort of like devalues art, in a world where we think AI can just generate all this shit and we cannot do it. And I want to just, and I'm thinking deeply about that as a parent, because I'm observing my kids starting to like turn into themselves, turn into who they are going to be. And I want them to work hard at the things that they are passionate about. And everything about the world that they're growing up in is kind of just like, don't do that. Just scroll. Don't do that. Just generate it. Don't do that. It's so easy. You don't have to you don't have to write a term paper. You don't have to study for homework. Just do this. And so I just want to, I don't know, take a lesson from what you've done here, which is like, you worked very hard to do something. It was a total flop and did nothing for 8 years. Yeah. And now it has become a rallying point in this moment of protest.
We should all be so lucky as to have that arc. And if it had never happened, if this had never happened, honestly, I hope I would still be happy. I wasn't sitting out there and feeling like I wasted my time writing this book two weeks ago. I was still happy that it existed because I wanted something absurd to exist. And I am so lucky and so I'm very grateful that thousands of other people now see some value in it. I don't even know if they see value in the book. But they do see value in getting it up the charts, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm trying not to be overly trite or whatever, but like, don't give up is what I'm trying to say. I'm like, you never know what the world is going to do with the thing that you make. And you never know if the thing that you make is going to lead to the next thing that you make. So don't take the easy way out. Don't say, I could write a book, but I'm going to binge Netflix instead. Just try to do it. Do it.
One of the most encouraging signs I've seen lately is I've seen a lot of friends starting to take art classes for like physical art, like pottery and ceramics and painting, and these things that get you off your phone, that exercise your creative muscles. And if those friends never become great painters or great ceramicists, I think they'll still be grateful that they took these classes and exercised this part of their brain and spent less time scrolling. And I think like that's something that I want to do in the year to come. And also one thing to answer your other question, like I think a big part is support the arts. Right? And that doesn't have to be like, I'm donating to it can be going out and seeing some live music in your town if you're lucky enough to still have venues that do live music. Going out and supporting musicians is like an excellent way to build a culture that supports the arts. And then of course anything else you can do, theater and everything else.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Thanks for writing. Keep us posted on, the next 50,000 Amazon sales and reviews. JD Boehninger, thank you for being my guest on Influence. It's really nice to hang with you.
It is always a pleasure to speak with you, particularly to be a guest on this. This is really a dream come true, so thank you.